Oh, here we go. If you are an Orioles fan, you might be a little concerned about this one. But this game today, this was amazing. I never, I never, I never thought I see the day that they could come out and start winning like this. This was amazing. This was amazing. Okay, now, now the fans should wonder, shouldn't? Oh, I forgot to write this down. I'll give you the totals here in a minute. Okay, here are the totals. If anybody missed the game today, I'll give them to you here. It was 10 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. 7 runs on 7 hits and no errors for the Braves. And I can believe it was a little conveniently not too bad here today, which was a pretty good score. I just I can't believe that they're coming out as hot as they are. I can't believe this. As far as it just seems like it's just starting to look like they're starting to look like a team right now that it seems like this was sort of like uh um was sort of like it was so easy. I should say easy. I should say easy. I should say easier for the O's. But this was so easy to me. But this every game you see today is really really on the slow part of it. But it was but at least you think it wasn't. The scoring was kind of hard to do today. The scoring was so good this afternoon. This was so interesting. This was so interesting to me. I want to just remind everybody. I just want to remind everybody. Stay tuned for more Orioles talk here. This may be a little bit more concerned of yours. It concerns me, but sometimes it's really not the same thing. It seems like it's really getting smoother as it goes. And I'm just glad it didn't lose today. It was 10-3 was the final here. The final here today. And I do have the list for the next game here. Next game's tomorrow when they play the Toronto Blue Jays at Sarasota. It just seems like to me, you know what it seems like to me? This game was so good this afternoon. It was really getting better and better and better as I heard the lineup given. When I seen this lineup, I just well, what you could actually see this. You couldn't actually see it, but I could really feel like the Orioles were so hot. They were really getting hotter and hotter as the game went on. And I just couldn't believe, I just can't believe that this game was really, they scored 3 times in the second inning. Then the Braves scored it went in the third inning. They had 3-1. And then they scored one in the fourth. They made it 3-2. Then the Orioles came back in the fifth inning and scored one in the fifth. That made it 4-2. I should say. They made it 4-2. And they scored in the sixth inning. They scored 2 more runs, which wasn't so bad. It was after 7.5. They scored 3. The Braves scored 3 runs in the. They scored one in the seventh, And here's the clincher here. It comes 4 times in the ninth inning. He scored 4 times there. And that was a little bit more exciting for me just to hear how much they scored here. They scored 4 times in the ninth, which wasn't so bad. But that was an interesting thing. Interesting part of that was, how did they realize they need the runs, A lot of the runs were kind of considerably given to them. It's fielder's choices or something like that. But I didn't really see what the stats was today. But I did see part of them, but I didn't have it on long enough to watch it all. I didn't have time to see it. Because people thought this was so interesting to me that this was what the Orioles needed to do. I still think this team's really going to be a very active club this year. I think this team's really going to look good for the rest of the season. And I think this 10-3 win this afternoon was pretty good for the O's. But this was kind of like a different seesaw battle. It's like a seesaw going up and down, You ever see one of them? Like you get on a playground and you see a seesaw going up and down? That's what this was. Did you ever see one outside? You ever see a seesaw? This was an interesting part of me that really, I can really accept this. Folks, don't get too aware, but this could be one of the best Orioles seasons I have heard so far. This could go all the way for them. And I think this could be one of the World Series this season. If they pick up wins, they won't pick any more losses. But I'm just glad that the Orioles won this afternoon. So, and I just want to reiterate here. I mean, this game was so interesting. To me. I wrote this down because I thought this was very interesting to me, just to say what the Orioles really meant a lot of people. They really meant a lot for the fans and the people a lot of people upstairs. And I'll tell you, this was a quality. This was a team where Honest came in, The Honest word. The Honest people could see where the offense was in any different way. The difference was interesting to see. A lot of what I didn't get the lineup for today. I couldn't have time to write it down today. It's just like everybody thinks the players are not going to be where the positions are, where they're going to be staying at for the rest of the season. And this was interesting to me. How many times do you know that the Orioles may have some interesting things coming? But this game was so hot today that you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe how this game was. What the radio announcer said that this was kind of like a good club that was kind of like it was so interesting. The players started hitting more. You ever see that happen? You ever see that happen before? If you did, you can see a lot of runs scored there. But this was a little bit interesting to me. A little bit like that. In this Braves game, this was interesting. I thought it was going to be close where it was so interesting at. Between the third and fourth innings, I thought this was going to be a kind of close ball game, This was so close today. You couldn't believe how good it was. And you couldn't believe how good it was. exciting it was, at least to me it was. And I really feel, honestly, this is going to be a great Orioles team this season. But this game was so interesting to me that this was such a um, everybody's been telling me whether the Orioles are going to win or not this season. But by my book, they could. By my feeling is they could. They could actually do something here. I can really see a lot of improving. I can see a lot of improvement this season. This year could be one of the best seasons the Orioles have had in years. I think they're going to have a good team, except for what I don't know what the roster is going to be like. But if I could just take a little time to look at this roster, I think next time I get on this show, I'll know a little bit more. I'll know a little bit more about what's going on in the Orioles organization. This organization is really it's just so interesting to me. You know how interesting it is? You know how interesting this team was really going to be, sort of like if you think it was, you know what the interesting part of me says? It's going to be a very interesting season this year. A very interesting one. Did you ever see that kind of feeling that you know it's going to be really interesting to you? Is it going to be interesting? Yes, it is. Excuse me. Excuse me. Folks, I apologize for that. I kind of apologize for that. Sometimes you think it wasn't going to be a, like, you know what I mean. And this was very interesting game today because this Orioles team can really play ball. I think they could play good baseball. I couldn't see where Honest was coming out of this game. And this game was so interesting to me that this game was so like it was very interesting to me. This was so interesting. But this game was so good today that you couldn't get your hands off of them. That you couldn't get your dial off the radio stations. You couldn't get the dial off. Look how hot they look. And you think that they're not going to do any good? Yeah, they are. They're going to have some good team this year. I really feel that I think this team's going to look better this season. I think this roster is going to look kind of different. And the pitching could improve. It's improving a lot. It's like Dean Kramer. He won today's game, the winning pitcher. I just can't believe he could pitch a good ball game. And I'll tell you right now, he is one heck of a man who could pitch a pretty good game. At least to me, he does. At least to me, he can try. And these games he's playing in now is so interesting to me that any ball game, he could really pitch a pretty good mean game. That could prove all the change-ups and all that stuff. But it's so interesting to me that this was like you're looking at like in a book or something. Look in a book now and you think, where's this Orioles team looking like? Do you ever look like in a different way you couldn't see what the stats was? The stats were like that. I was so interested today that all these guys did a good job today. I think the Orioles really did a good job here today. I'm really proud of them. I'm really assuming that this team could really play good baseball. I think this team could play good baseball. In my book, they can. If you ever see somebody and tells you something, this is not the truth here. But the truth is, you've got to play good baseball to be a good bunch of good championships. And I really think this game, I think this whole Season's going to be a good game for them this week. And I do have all the list for tomorrow's game against the Blue Jays. And I think Sunday, yeah. Tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow will be Sunday. It'll be the Blue Jays and the Orioles at Sarasota. And the next game is the New York Yankees on Monday afternoon. Then the Tampa Bay Rays come to town and visit the Orioles. Again, I don't know about this whole thing. This team is so properly hot. I mean, this team is hot. I don't mean they are like a bunch of champions to me. I don't mean I'm not saying they're not gonna be the hottest team, you know. They might make a couple of mistakes, but they're gonna be a good ball club. The pitching stays healthy, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be all right. Mullins has a hamstring problem, which I agree with that. But he won't be out as long as what they thought. Next week he should be back in the lineup again. He should be back in the lineup again for the Orioles playing the Blue Jays tomorrow. And I just can't believe that a lot of these teams are looking good. You know how the hot teams, this is the hottest. This Orioles team can play good baseball in anything they could. I mean anything. I mean, this team is the hottest team in the league right now. I mean, I have not had 13 wins and 2 losses so far. But this was a good ball club to me. And I'll tell you right now, this has been like a champions, I should say. And I mean, I have not seen these champions play a good game of baseball in years. And I think this is going to be the year for the Orioles to be in the World Series this season. I have a feeling about it. But this team today played wonderful. I think all these guys really played good baseball. Because the Braves were playing like a bunch of nuts. I mean, they were playing like a bunch of nothing. I mean, they didn't. They had a lot of pitching trouble. I think what I mean is, I think what I'm saying is they got a lot of pitching trouble. They get into a ball game and they win one game. I mean, this game is really the serious part of it. And if they walk out of here in a game that Atlanta couldn't take this whole thing this season, this told me that, I mean, these teams could improve a little bit in the draft and later in the year. They can make some trades too later in the year after the All-Star break. But I think this team's really going to be a very, very exciting club. I think Atlanta's going to look like they're in a battle in the cellar. But I should say this. I shouldn't believe this, but I think the Orioles are going to be good this year. Join me tomorrow. Join me on Monday for the Orioles and the Yankees. This would be the 14th win they'll do tomorrow on Sunday. So it'll be 14 wins and 2 losses so far. And if they win tomorrow, they'll be 14-2 in the year. They'll end the season down there in a good way. There's not too many games left to go. They only got a couple more games to play with. But this was before the season does open on March 28th of this month. I just hope that this game is it. Every series I've been listening to this year is so hot. I mean, this team is so hot. I mean, this whole ball club looks better and better. I'm not saying the Orioles are so bad. They're looking good. If this team doesn't look as bad as you think it is, they're looking good. The pitching's improving. I can see a lot of improvement, lots of improvement. I think Mike Elias did a good job this winter. I think he did. I think he did a real good job with this club. I get them back in the World Series again. But this whole thing reminded me of which, if this series wasn't going to be even, this wouldn't have been better than ever. So until Monday, you are not going to miss nothing this weekend. You're really going to love baseball coming up this tomorrow afternoon when the Orioles take on the Blue Jays for game number 14. You know where this whole team improved a lot. And I think this one's a very fantastic, I should say that. I'm going to really run down all the information tomorrow when I get on the air on Monday. So I'll go over all the schedule on Monday to give you a report about it, and you'll find out as I get everything on Monday. I'll have more Orioles action for you tomorrow because I'm going to have a special show on Monday telling all about opening day. Okay. This could be one of the best Orioles extras we have had unless somebody told you nothing. We'll have an Orioles preview show beginning before the 28th, before Thursday. I'll have a pregame show beginning on about 2 Mondays before the season opens, for real. I'm looking forward to having the season open for good. Now, if this season's not going to be as good as I hope it is, this one could be one of the best championship teams I have heard about in years. And I'll see you on Monday when I come back from my regular Orioles talk. I'll have an interview by that time, I hope. I'll talk about things of news and what news means to you, what the Orioles do mean to you. And I think this club is really looking good. And all I got to say is this team could really play hot baseball. And all I have to say is go O's and do good for this year. And I guarantee you, we'll see you later, guys. And don't forget to watch O's baseball. I'll listen to it tomorrow afternoon. I'll have more on this story as I get it. We'll see ya. See ya, folks. I believe it's off. Yeah, it's turned off.